right, welcome back to Who Versus. We got a packed show today, don't we, James?
Let's get right into it. Just shut up.
Get right into it. So we got a couple topics. Number one, you were without power with your family for 36 hours.
37
hours. Let's be precise.
An hour 37 was hard.
You weren't. You thought you'd be ready for that, but you weren't.
Ready.
We're going to get into detail on that. We're going to talk about my first shooting competition that I went to. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to do something everybody's been DMing us about, truck-based movies.
Yes.
We're going to get to truck-based movies. You've got a lot to say about that.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I've waited my whole life for this moment.
One of the things that's running around and going around the country is something called the Big Beautiful Bill.
Sure.
So we're going to talk about things that come to mind when you think of the Big Beautiful Bill.
I'm going to make notes.
And the last thing, you and I have thoughts on China-Taiwan relations. We're going to spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah, let's reserve the last hour for that.
I think at least the last hour.
We possibly cracked it.
We'll do that in the live hour.
Okay.
I
don't know what that means, but yeah.
That's what. Tiffany, before we start, do we have any callers?
No callers today, but I do have a microphone today.
No callers.
Do you have a microphone?
I have a microphone.
But no
People
callers.
can hear me.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Okay, so the setup here is the DMV area a couple weeks ago had some very bad winds, rainstorm. My area got a little bit of it. Yours got hammered.
A microburst. I think it's like it's almost like it's not a tornado. It's almost like a super hyper localized hurricane. A hurricane.
How is it a hurricane if it doesn't start in the ocean? Maybe that's immaterial.
I don't know. There's no twister either, but it's like hurricane force winds.
Well, you're using
in a tiny
meteorological terms. I thought you would know what this is.
I don't know. I just know it was really bad and very localized. Like even I was like a mile from the epicenter of it, and it was really bad. Basically, this was last Friday night or two Friday nights ago. And I look out the window, and all my trees are horizontal, and wind and rain is going horizontal. Lights flicker, lights flicker, lights flicker. Boom, they're off. Like okay.
What time of night is this?
5:30.
So the kids are awake.
5:30 p.m. Kids were out of the house. Wife was dropping them off at the church for kids' crew.
Wow.
Lesson learned. So anyway, power goes off. I think, okay, high winds. Like, I almost said ComEd. That's Chicago. Whoever my power company is, I can't remember. They'll get it back on. Wrong answer. 37 hours of no power. Saturday was 90 degrees during the day. Your home in a 90-degree weather day, it stays very hot late into the night. It's
like one of those desert sweat boxes.
It was horrible. I don't want to talk about this anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So what ends up happening is 2 people got killed, trees blown over, crushed them to death in their cars.
Neighbors of yours?
Yeah, well, extended. Like in my larger community, but like the neighborhood directly north of me and the one directly east. Trees down. You should come down there, Phil, and look at it. It looks like you know that weird event that happened in like Siberia where everything is just like clear cut, like in like early 1900s, like almost like a nuke went off and they don't know what happened. That's what parts look like, where every single tree is down, and the National Park Service, which is in charge of the Parkway, George Washington Parkway, that's a national, like a federal road, and so they brought front end loaders in and chipping machines, just piles of sawdust from these trees that are probably 200, 300 years old. I mean, we were talking 4 or 5 foot in diameter.
Wow.
Snapped.
How do they snap? Did the
they
roots
didn't
go
snap,
up? Or
ripped out of the ground. Roots tipped over, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know anything about trees. I'm not an arborist, but it was bad. 2 people crushed to death. So anyway, we like to talk about preparedness on this show, and we pretend like we're prepared. But like, there was nothing to shoot in this scenario. Like, I'm prepared for Russian paratroopers. Right? I was not prepared for 37 hours during a heat wave of no electricity, air conditioning being the big one, with a newborn, with 4 kids, one of which is a newborn, a dog, and a wife.
All right. So when is the first moment you're looking around and saying, this is the first thing I wish I had?
I don't know. It's a weird question. When was the moment?
So it's 5:30.
What are you asking?
I'm saying it's 5:30. Lights go out.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I had a backup generator.
Okay. Well, that's the question.
Big one. I wish I had a whole house generator.
So number 1, backup generator.
Yeah. So Generac makes them. They're automatic. They're seamless. They're hooked into natural gas lines or whatever. My neighbors have them. That's how I know power goes out. Like if in the middle of the night, I can hear them kick on. two of my neighbors have.
Oh, wow.
And their whole house generates. It's seamless. Like power cuts off, generator comes on, re-energizes the house. They're off to the races. So I had to listen to those friggin' things drone on for 37 hours. That'll drive you mad. Yeah.
You were already there.
I was already mad, but what a weird question. You phrased that weird. I'm
That
sorry.
wasn't weird at all.
To the audience at home, I'm sorry for the way Phil.
Ignore him. This is James's madness that's kicked in.
So that was huge, right? Not having AC. Like, I thought it was going to be an hour. Like, the previous worst scenario when we lost power was someone drove a car into a power pole. Everything in my neighborhood is all the power lines are above ground, right? They're all on poles. None of them are buried, and they go directly above ground into each house in my neighborhood. That's common here, but that's not that common in every part of the country. So anyway, worst before that was like 5 or 6 hours. It wasn't the winter, and it wasn't the summer. It was like fine weather. Open the window. So number one was air conditioning. That was a killer, right? Number two is food starts to go bad pretty quickly, and like I have
a generator.
Yeah, you don't have a generator, right? So like I have a deep freeze on the porch, and that thing is very filled up, and so it held its own very well. Like it's almost like I touched the meat after like hour 35, and I was like, it doesn't even know the difference, right? But stuff in your fridge, the kids start opening the door every time. I got up to like 50 degrees in there, So I had to start getting. Oh, that was another thing. Ice. I couldn't get out of my neighborhood. Trees were down.
You literally were what was the radius through which you could travel outside your neighborhood with a car?
I couldn't.
Wow.
Like go around a couple of the streets, but we're very isolated. There's only one kind of two ways into my neighborhood, which is normally a good thing, right? You don't want all these roads going into your neighborhood because riffraff can easily get in, rob you, and get out, right? The problem with that is those are natural choke points, and trees were across them. So the two main roads of access for me to get out and get ice, to start putting stuff in an ice chest like a Yeti cooler and saving meat and milk and that type of stuff, like I couldn't get ice.
But even if you could get out and get ice, everybody else in your neighborhood
everyone did it.
I want ice.
Right.
So everybody's going to the 7-Eleven or where else to
Yeah, 7-Eleven got cleared out. Like that was the one cool thing about this is that everyone kind of met up at 7-Eleven because that and an Exxon next to it are literally the only two buildings, like businesses within maybe 2 or 3 mile radius of our place. And so everybody went there, and it was kind of like almost like the town square where people were like trading stuff like, oh, well, I heard this, I heard that. That was the other thing. Cell service was down. So internet's gone, but I couldn't get any cell service.
I remember that you texted me that you had no power. You said you had to walk miles away from your house.
I ended up getting in my truck, driving around to look at it, and it looked like post-apocalyptic world. There were so many limbs down, and people were running chainsaws and stacking them up. But anyway, so no cell service. So that was another thing.
Let me stop you there. When you're going to the 7-Eleven to pick up information about what's going on, looking back, was a lot of the information accurate, or was it just rumors that people were overblowing?
It was overblown. It wasn't, but it was like people were in it together, and so it was good to see community support in that sense.
Okay,
it was kind of weird because it was horrible storm at 5:30 p.m. The next morning was a beautiful day. It happened to be 90 degrees that day, but it was beautiful. So it was life was kind of going on as normal. But I think I called you maybe from the road, or I texted you, and I was like, why am I out here without a gun, man? This looks like Katrina. It was weird. It was a weird, people were more aggressively driving around because can't go this way because cops have closed that down because there's a dead body in a car. Can't go that way, dead body over there. And so they shut all these roads down, and people were beginning to panic, I need to get out and get things, but I literally can't get out of this neighborhood.
Did it ever get to a point where anybody actually lost their cool?
I don't know.
Two, was there any? There wasn't any looting.
No, there was no looting. No looting, and if people lost their cool or not, I didn't see it. People seemed edgy. You would go this way, and you'd be in a line of 500 cars, and then you realize what's taking so long is literally there's a 4-foot diameter tree across there, and everyone is U-turning and coming back, and just seeing the frustration on people's faces and not knowing. The other thing is I have a hand crank radio. It's got a little solar panel on it. You can crank it up, an emergency radio, Red Cross or something. Radio doesn't tell you any information.
There wasn't a local station to tune into?
I'm going through the dial. Everything. Business is going on as usual. My in-law.
They're still playing the jams of the 90s.
It was
on the radio.
ridiculous. Like, no one. This thing was so localized. This is probably one of the deadliest storms in Northern Virginia history, which is crazy to think. It just in like a lion, out like a lamb. People a town over, even within the same town, had no clue that this was going on. So there was nothing on the radio. I'm listening to traffic reports. They're like, 395 of the C Street Bridge is backed up. If you're taking the tunnel to the game, dude, got dead bodies around here. Nobody knows. Nobody
Local
cares.
news didn't do anything on the radio?
No.
Wow. That's an interesting...
So one thing I learned is that, like, I've got to figure out what the emergency radio frequencies are.
Well, Phil, don't you have a ham radio?
I do.
Yeah, but that's so hard.
No, it's...
And for nerds.
It's
And I'm not a nerd, and I won't raise nerds.
You also didn't know what was going on in your neighborhood.
I had no idea, so maybe a ham. But ham radio is like for retirees that work in an office and are like, I'll go to my Radio Shack in the backyard, and I put a push pin every time I hit a repeater.
It's a lot of talk from a guy who had no food, no ice, no generator, and no information.
And a newborn baby.
And a newborn baby. Yeah. I don't want to call you a failure as a father for not having a ham
felt
radio,
like it.
but it's a pretty low bar.
So there was a lot of
so,
lessons learned.
like-
I felt like a failure, and so I did the next best thing. That when I got power back and got the internet, I spent $3,000
Okay.
on stuff.
Let's talk about what you bought. Just list it.
Okay, I bought like a 5,000 watt dual fuel generator. It's not gonna run. That's a lot of watts. I don't know how many watts there are total in the world.
There's a finite amount.
I think so. I think that's like the first law of thermodynamics, finite watts. I got 5,000 of them. I can run a gas on it or a propane tank. So dual fuel. I can run a lot of stuff, right? I can run a deep freeze. Probably can't power the AC system.
Yeah.
That takes a ton of power.
You'd have to get one of those in-house generators. That's
Yeah,
locked
yeah.
into the
And that's
propane.
cost
But in an
prohibitive.
emergency, that's kind of a luxury, isn't it?
It is a luxury, but it makes life pretty sweet.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like a creature comfort that keeps you relaxed, right? If you're sweaty and you see all this chaos around you and you're hot and you're uncomfortable, it's going to make you like not think quite as clearly.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
All right.
So, okay. So
generator?
I got that. Then I got a backup solar generator by this company called Jackery.
Those guys are great.
It's basically like a battery, and you can charge it either in the wall outlet and just store it as a backup battery to charge phones and run small electronics, or you can take solar. They come with solar panels. I got came with like a 50 watt, and I have a 100 watt, or a 40 watt, and I bought a 100 watt. And that just, you can actively charge it. And so you can keep small electronics charged. Those friggin' things drain a lot faster than you think, especially when you're trying to call out for help and there's literally no cell service. Like all my
Would've been
neighbors
nice
were
to
just
have a ham
walking
radio,
around.
huh?
Yeah. But how would I power it?
They keep their charge pretty well. They keep their charge.
Okay. But like, who would I call?
good point.
Like, hey, Phil, how's it going over there? Like, what am I? Breaker 19. Like,
Well,
this,
it's a radio version of the 7-Eleven you were at. It's just another place to get information.
But
it's a good
there's
point.
probably some ham operators in my neighborhood, but they didn't know anything I didn't know. Okay. But yeah, good point.
Okay,
Good point.
so you bought, very wise, bought a generator. I do
basically
not have one.
two. Basically two generators, because one's solar powered.
Can you charge the Jackery off of the big generator?
Yeah,
Just
I
in
could.
case it was
I
like
could.
overcast and you couldn't solar power it?
Sure.
Okay.
Solar power is super inefficient, by the way. That's
How long does it take you to...
do a full charge, like 12 hours of direct sunlight with a
Whoa.
100-watt panel. It's insane.
Wow.
Solar power sucks. I wish I had a private personal nuclear reactor. Now that would work. That would be something. Anyway, here's another big lesson learned. Candles. You got candles at home?
I do.
Yeah, you have candles that your wife got for Christmas that smell good.
It's a Yankee candle.
They do not put out light, and they stink.
No, so
That
here-
stuff's actually dangerous to breathe in anyway.
The
unless
truth
it's like
is,
soy.
I did have some candles, but after I heard this story from you, I bought another 50.
I bought these Sterno. You know, they heat like chafing dishes, however you say that. The Sterno makes a survival candle. You can get like a 10-pack of them. Each one burns 100 hours. Amazing. So I got those.
You tested it yet to see how much light it gives off?
No, because I don't want to
Right. You don't want to burn through your...
I don't want to burn through my supply. I got that. I got a bunch of beeswax candles, 12 beeswax candles. Some were short. Some were like the tall ones you'd have at like a fancy dinner in the 80s, like those type of candles. I got, 2 12-packs of those. What else did I get? Chem lights. Break them open, shake them. throw them.
Give them to the kids.
Give them to the kids. I also got the kids like a 100-piece. It's almost something you'd get at a birthday party or a 4th of July party, just to keep them busy. And it's like, oh, you can make sunglasses, you can make necklaces and stuff. Just glow light like kits to keep them busy.
So that's a good point. What did you do to keep your kids busy?
They had a blast.
Yeah.
We were playing Sorry or Trouble or whatever that stupid game is by candlelight. I hate board games, for the record, and card games. I hate games.
It's because you suck at them.
No, I'm incredible and I win at everything because I'm a winner.
Except board games.
I'm a winner.
Except board games
I'll
and being
destroy you
prepared
at
for
any
minor
card game.
inconveniences in your neighborhood.
I will destroy you at any board game, and you can take that to the blood bank.
You just said you don't play board games.
I hate them, but I win.
You're also great at
But I win. And
What's your best board game?
Hyper competitive Monopoly.
First off, no one has
Risk.
ever actually won at Monopoly.
Yes.
It goes on.
People
for
get bored.
hours.
Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. So keep them busy. They had a blast. This is like camping. They're not affected by the heat.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah, the kids.
sweating like a donkey doing calculus.
Right.
And the kids are like thinking it's a blast, right? More flashlights, like rechargeable headlamps for the kids. A lot of stuff to keep the kids busy to make it fun. I think that is key in
your
like
kids busy?
in like disaster or not even this is minor disaster, but just like inconvenience. Keep it fun for the kids. I got an oil lamp, like an old school, burns on clean burning whale oil. No, it's like a kerosene lamp. You pour it in the bottom. It's got like a glass,
Oh, yeah.
that type of thing. That puts out, I fired that sucker up. That puts out a lot of light.
Why would you want to go? This is my point about the solar power stuff. Why would you want to go with that, which is something that might be hard to source if you run out, as opposed to a solar powered lamp that doesn't take as long to recharge?
Like a solar powered lantern?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that.
Not opposed to it? Okay.
I bought a ton of stuff, and that wasn't one of them. I got to the end of my bank account, and I was like, all right, the rest is ammo and spam.
Yeah.
So made me rethink water purification. Water never went out, but that's always in the back of my mind, water purification, right?
Here's a good point. To your point about not having information in your town, what if there was a boil
boil?
water order?
We would never know.
How would you have known?
Never know. Would never know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I have a gas range, stovetop. So the starter doesn't work because that's electric. And the oven doesn't work because that is the electric panel that controls that. But you can like turn the gas on and light it with a match or a lighter. So I got more matches, like kitchen matches, because you should always have those.
If you do have your phone charged, they do put out like an Amber Alert type like notice for the boil water advisory. Did you know that?
Okay, here's a question.
So
Would
if
that
your
have
phone's
gone through
charged-
if he couldn't get signal?
I feel like it would have.
Yeah, I think it does if you can't get signal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't have any 5G. I had this thing called LTE, and I had one bar, and literally 5,000 homes were trying to like get on at the same time and figure out what was going on. So I got nothing. So like lights, backup power, keep things cool, don't lose all your food. It's funny, so this was Friday night. By Saturday evening, I had a neighbor whose husband was out of town, high and dry, or he was in a hotel, like just ice cold. He probably turned it down to 64 degrees while his family is sweating their brains out. Anyway, she just dropped a bunch of steaks off at my house because they were going bad. She couldn't keep them. So I fired up the charcoal grill. Very good flank steak. So we ate well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're already hot and sweaty, eating just
Steak isn't great.
flank steak doesn't make you feel very cool. It's not a cooling food. You know how Chinese people have like hot foods and cooling foods, and they feel like that affects like your health.
Mm-hmm.
That's something they're into. Anyway, these were hot foods. But anyway, so yeah.
The most important thing you bought, would you say, of everything, generator? Which one? The dual fuel or the solar powered Jackery?
Dual fuel. The Jackery was expensive and is enough to like charge your phone. That's it. Solar power and all this green stuff is baloney. You heard it here, folks. Baloney. It's not efficient. It's crazy expensive. It's cheaper than it was, but it's crazy expensive. But it's good to have flexible options, right? Like I run out of gas, I run out of propane bottles. Okay, I can still at least charge small electronics with this portable battery paired with a solar panel.
And maybe you know them or you don't know them. Those are the two options. You either know them or you don't know them. But the neighbors who have the in-house generators, that they offer to put people's spoiled food in
And I'll tell you why. I know the people who own the home, but they're military, right? So they've been, whatever they call it, they get orders and they go somewhere else. So some other military family moved into their house. and I don't know them, and they are like, I've tried. They're weird. I feel like they're the Americans from that show where they're actually Russian spies. I don't know.
Sure.
I do not understand this family.
Do they have kids?
I think so, but I've never seen them.
So did the Americans.
Yeah. So what? Should I like surveil them? Is that what you're saying?
I would. Well,
Like take them out?
I don't know. What do you do tomorrow?
Anyway, yeah. So the lights, extra lights is everything too. Like just good candles, not smelly candles.
Yeah.
I got beeswax because I figured they're not paraffin based, so it's not as bad to breathe that in.
Oh, that's a good point.
And like even my kerosene lamp, like I don't think I should be breathing kerosene fumes in all that much, buddy. But candles that put out light, not old Yankee candles or whatever they're called.
And so on the food front, you felt like you were fine the whole time. There was no problem there
The
about.
problem is just like annoying. Like you're limited in what you can eat because you got to cook. You could boil stuff, boil pasta and stuff, but you can't go in and get condiments because then you're opening your fridge and letting cold out.
Before we move on, was there anything you were starting to worry about, but you didn't get there because the power came back on? Like, oh, my kid is getting a fever, or
No.
I'm going to run out of gas in my truck because I'm driving around. Like, was there something coming on the horizon that you were?
And honestly, I started to crack up. I was like, I am a failure. I was prepared to shoot anything that came. I was not prepared for this. I pride myself as being prepared. So I started to go like Jack Torrance style in The Shining.
Okay.
I was like, started getting weird.
All right.
And, that long of not knowing of like, when is this going to come back on? That is the part that it's just not knowing.
It's the not knowing. I think most people. Yeah,
It's like in a traffic jam. You're like, what? There has to be a reason. What is going on? And you're like craning your neck and you never find out.
You're being a little self-deprecating. I don't think you were actually going to crack up, but I think that is a real concern. I think most people are not accustomed to any adversity in their life.
Yeah.
Ever. We live such comfortable lives, and I could see them 36, 48 hours.
Well, after 24, I was like, this is getting ridiculous. And then
It's not fun anymore.
And then going to bed the second night without power, I was like, come on, man.
Do you think your little Jackery battery charger could have powered a little oscillating fan
For a time.
just to keep you
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah, for a time it could have. I didn't have it at the time, but
Yeah.
would have been nice. Yeah. I tell you what, Phil.
I'll tell you, this is
That was just the hardest part was no air conditioning. That's how like ridiculous we are, right? Because in Europe, you know this, they don't have air conditioning in most places.
Yeah.
Like I was living in Ireland. It got up to 75 degrees. People were dying because it was so hot, like
Yeah.
literally dying.
like every year in Europe. Don't
Yeah.
that hundreds of people pass away because of
It's
hot and cold?
thousands.
Thousands.
I saw this thing one time. I think it was Paris or something. It had a heat wave. 15,000 people died. 15,000.
In a first world country.
Yeah, and it was just like, yeah, that's just the summer. It's just old people. It's like that's a problem. That's crazy. You get ice in Europe.
Yeah.
I challenge you.
They don't do it.
They don't do it. You can't find it.
Well,
It's like real estate in Tuscany. Can't do it.
let's just.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for you to drink your drink, James?
Because it weighs
You
5
look like you're
pounds.
struggling.
I'm not struggling, but this is This is called a heavy mug or something. It was a gift. It's the 5-pound mug. Maybe we get sponsored by them.
Yeah.
If I do this. So this is before. This is Phil. And then that's me, right there. Yeah, it's a
Didn't the
5
guy who
pound
gave that to you say that there was a 20-pound or 20-pound version, right?
Yeah, but in order to do that and keep it mug size, you have to drill a tiny hole in it, and it was only like 3 ounces. So it's a shot glass.
Yeah.
It's a 20-pound shot glass, which is maybe a good thing.
I'm telling you what's going to happen is you're going to drink out of that, then you're going to take a regular-sized mug.
Bust my
You're going
teeth
to
out.
smash your teeth out.
I mean, I do that anyway.
And I'm going to be there for it.
Yeah. You know that all that talk about radios and ham radios
Do you
remind
want to apologize now?
No, I never will. I never apologize.
You-
I never explain myself.
know
I'm
you
like the British royal family. We're going to get some reader mail. Tiffany, any calls?
Still no calls.
The switchboards are flickering.
Yeah.
Do they still
Could be a
it's
power
probably-
outage.
The truckers.
Yeah, hold on a
Trucker
second.
movies.
Trucker
Can we
movies?
move to that?
Well, we're going to go to, let's go to trucker movies.
Yeah.
Go to trucker movies.
Well, the radio stuff. So there was a weird genre of movies that came out in the mid to late 70s where it idolized truckers and trucking and like Southern culture. And the obvious one is Smoking the Bandit in 77. One of the best movies of all time. But that popularized like the CB radio talk. like Breaker 19, 10-4, Good Buddy, all that stuff. And then it was followed up by Convoy with Chris Christopherson right there in 78, if you recall. And then let me check notes. Any Which Way But Loose with Clint Eastwood.
Tiffany,
also
all
in
you have
78.
to do is pull up a picture of the poster for this movie,
Yeah.
and you will know the entire plot of this movie.
So Clint Eastwood is a truck driver and part-time bare knuckle boxer, any which way but loose. And his best friend and roommate is an orangutan named Clyde. And they crisscross the Southwest and fight.
both Clint and the orangutan.
And the orangutan.
Is he fighting orangutans
I
or
think
men?
he fights other men. I don't know what Clyde does. Clyde pulls practical gags. And then it was just a weird, brief genre. A Convoy was a great one with Chris Christopherson. There's a famous song. I wish we could roll by C.W. McCall 10-4 called Convoy. We got a great big convoy across the U.S. Simpsons did an episode on this.
There it is, right there.
25 odd years ago. Clyde.
Get a picture of the ape.
So the genre, it was just like here and gone.
Yep.
There it is. That's Clyde.
That tells you everything you have to know about this movie.
He's just fighting people, just bare knuckle fighting.
But you can tell there's love.
Yeah, well,
There's a lot of love there.
Clyde might be the star. I like buddy comedies where one of the buddies is an animal. What was the other one? Turner and Hooch? No.
Air Bud.
Air Bud?
Air Bud was a good. Turner and Hooch is maybe the biggest. Most
War Horse?
Yes.
Oh wait, that's not a buddy comedy.
Seabiscuit. Is that a
That's
not
a
Is
comedy.
that a comedy?
I don't know. Never saw it.
Are there any other animal-based buddy comedies?
What's the one with Jim Belushi? Canine?
Yeah.
Where it's like a German Shepherd is his cop buddy?
I think it tops out at Turner and Hooch. That was the apex.
That was the apogee. Anyway, trucker movies, go back and watch them. Smoking the Bandit, Convoy, Any Which Way But Loose. And then they temporarily tried to bring the genre back in 98. So you and I were like high school age. And they made this movie called Black Dog with Patrick Swayze. Did you see this?
I remember this movie. Yes.
Did you watch it? It's ridiculous. So he's a trucker. I think he kills somebody with his truck or something, gets out of jail, loses his trucker license, but like a drug dealer or a guy moving weapons is like, you won't lose your house or your family or your farm or whatever if you just do one more job.
I love any movie where there's one last job.
Right. There's like one last job. Heat is a great example of that. It's like one last job. You're ready. You're ready to
Inception is like that. That's the whole premise of the movie. Yeah. It's not about a trucker, obviously.
I thought it was about dreams.
It is about dreams.
But it's like one last dream.
That's DiCaprio's whole thing. He's like, I have to do one last job, and I can
love
go
that
home.
because it's always morally ambiguous, and you're like, but he's got to save his family farm. So he drives this truck, and I guess the premise behind it, eventually he's got like a shotgun rider and a blocker car, just like Smokey and the Bandit. So the Bandit, Smokey is the cop, right? We got Smokies, we got bears, as they call them.
Smokey Bears.
Smokey Bears. The Bandit is the blocker car. He's running interference for the Coors shipment that Snowman's driving, right? Played by Jerry Reed. So they got a blocker car, and then he's got a guy riding shotgun, and Patrick Swayze starts talking about the Black Dog, and basically this is so ridiculous. This is how ridiculous trucker movies are. Basically, the Black Dog is if you've been driving on the road too long, you'll sort of like almost hallucinate a black dog running at you, and you just crash your truck. It's like, what happened to him? It's like Jethro saw the black dog. It's like that's the premise. It's like that's how he ended up killing people with his truck. They limit what long haul truckers can drive, but if you go over that, you're going to hallucinate a black dog.
They're all those gas station uppers anyway.
Yeah,
so
they're
hallucinating.
Poppers and
What else you got on the
that
list?
stuff. You know what I left off the list, but I should have?
I want to.
Big Trouble in Little China.
I wasn't going to
What were
say
you
that,
gonna
but
say?
I was going to say
Shop Express.
Over the Top.
My gosh.
Oh,
80s, but still. Yeah.
Is Over the Top an actual trucker movie or is it an arm wrestling movie?
Right. That's a good point.
And it's the only one in its genre.
All the best arm wrestling movies are actually trucker movies.
Yeah.
That movie is ridiculous. Like, folks, go see it. Over the Top. Incredible. Turns the hat around.
I'd say no, you're serious.
Yeah. Trucker movies. Go check them out. It was a weird genre. It was here in a flash and gone.
I feel like, Over the Top was Black Dog was the last one.
Yeah, but that was like a 20-year pause between them.
Do you know what the evolution? And here's the thing. Nowadays, everything has to be a universe, right? or a franchise.
You mean like a Marvel thing?
Like a Marvel universe, so you have to do like, what's the backstory? What's the world these things live in? That wasn't the case back in the day. Today, that's the whole deal.
Yeah.
If those movies existed today, you'd have a Black Dog universe. You'd have a whole universe for Over the Top. You know what the modern iteration of these movies is? And you and I are going to kind of like this and also hate it.
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
Boom.
That's it.
Yeah.
They're literally doing the blocking and the, I guess, tackling or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a whole universe. They become international
Yeah.
super spies.
Yeah.
That's the extension of that.
Intergalactic, I believe.
That's true. They go to space.
You know, I was in Edinburgh, Scotland in 2019, and they were filming a scene for one of the Fast and Furious movies in Edinburgh, downtown, when I was there. And, like, they had streets blocked off and cars are zipping by. Well, anyway, we fly back, and my wife says, hey, Ludacris is in first class. He's on our flight coming from Edinburgh back. Ludacris. I was like, that's so awesome. I got to see him. I never do. Well, weeks later, I'm talking about the trip, and I was like, yeah, man, flying back, it was a great trip. Flying back, Ludacris was in first class. My wife's like, yeah, I made that up. You, like, if
Why
you're
would
going
you
to
make
make something up and punk me, you got to tell me in a reasonable time. I was going around talking
Would
about.
have taken that to her grave if
She
you
would
had
if
asked.
I had not like bragged about Ludacris being on my flight. And I never saw him. I just took her for
You
a
know what's
word.
great about that, though?
just lied to
is
me.
Ludacris is just enough of a celebrity.
I know.
You'd believe it. If she had
Yes.
said like
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Yeah, like no.
or Michelle Rodriguez, you'd be like, no, she flies private.
Yeah, but Ludacris, I'm like,
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah, he's probably in first class.
Yeah.
I would have been telling people this whole time I was on a plane with Ludacris, and I would have been a liar.
Kind of makes you wonder what else she's lying to you about.
A lot. There's a lot. It's fertile ground.
All right.
What do you got for me?
2
2 topics down. What?
topics
Two
down.
or
We are
3 to
making
go.
record time.
This is fantastic.
I want to talk to you about something that I did. I was a little bit nervous to do it. I went to my first shooting competition where I participated.
Okay. I was like, where are you
know
going?
where
with
you were
this?
going with this.
I don't. Okay.
Okay, so you
Shooting
and
competition.
you and I have been shooting for years. I encourage everybody to do this. It was a ton of fun. Everybody
Shooting
was
firearms is what
shooting
we're talking
firearms.
about, not heroin.
No, well,
Or shooting pictures or whatever.
yeah,
Shooting
whatever floats your
photography.
boat. So you and I have been shooting for many years. The one thing you don't get when you're at a range, whether it's indoor or outdoor, is a sense of urgency.
Yeah, there's no
Right?
stress.
There's no stress, not really, because you can sort of take your time. I went to an IDPA shooting match, International Defensive Pistol Association.
Okay.
Somebody fact check me on that.
That sounds right.
And where I live, you can't do this within about 90 minutes of my house.
Yeah.
So on a Saturday morning, I drove up 6 a.m. I'm hanging out. It's a giant open field.
It was outdoor.
It's outdoor.
Okay.
And it was just me for like 45 minutes. I was so like, I wanted to get there, and it was just me. People start showing up. I got to tell you, they were the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
They
Super
set up
nice.
like a little tailgate type situation. They got lawn chairs. No.
There was a lot of families.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like husbands and wives. One dad brought his kid. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I thought they were kind of going to like not haze me, but like ignore me a little bit because I'm the new guy.
Yeah.
And they would have
you
thought,
look like a Fed.
and I look like a Fed. Well, I was dressed in my fake police uniform that I used to pull people over.
Oh, I got to stop drinking out water when you do those lines.
And so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but
Spend.
here's the one thing I got. I'll say my score. Out of 50 shooters, I got 31st. My first time out, I think it's respectable. Here's what really dinged me, and it is
Broke
important.
every rule.
I shot a bystander.
That kid you were talking about, you killed him. That'll ding you points.
We circled back. 5 points off my score for shooting a guy. What dinged me was the rules,
Yeah.
right? Like, I know it's hard to explain on the show, but depending on what you're doing, you can't step over the line. And your first time out, you're processing so much information.
Yeah.
Your brain really isn't thinking about the rules, about the lines, and you have to shoot
Foot fault.
foot faults, and you have to shoot things in a particular order sometimes.
Oh.
What they call pieing the corner. So if there's a wall, you're going around that wall.
Shooting around barricades and
Shooting around.
stuff?
Oh yeah, those
So this
big-
is a real.
this is real.
You're moving
you're
around.
moving and shooting. Oh yeah,
That sounds
and it's all
dangerous,
timed.
Phil.
It was awesome. And so when you go around the corner, you have to shoot the first target. At least in this particular game, I don't know if it's with all of them. You shoot the first target that you see.
Scenario based, kind of.
define scenario. Like,
Well, it's like, all right,
Like-
it's like,
like
a course.
it's a course of
Never mind.
fire. There's
Not
no like
scenario.
you're holding a kid and you're coming out of the store.
There
There are those like
is
that.
IPSC? There's one USPC where it's like this one. They'll have a bed and you're like sleeping in bed and you got to go and shoot a guy out of a bathtub or
Yeah,
something.
it wasn't that. But it was just like you have to shoot things a particular order.
Okay.
When you're processing all this information as a newbie,
hard.
you sort of mess up some of those things. The big one for me was the foot fault, and that just crushed me.
Yeah.
Nicest people in the world, man. They would give me tips, and look, they know I'm not a threat to their score. If you're like the top G in there,
Yeah,
I'm not a threat to you. But everyone else was really
top
nice.
G's like putting sand in your pistol to
Yeah.
protect his score.
Yeah, he's just twirling his mustache. Like, I'm going to win. So you do enough of these, you get a score. Then I think you get invited to the state championships and then probably national championships.
This was like a regional or something.
I don't know what you would call it. I think it was like a trial run. Just you do enough of these, then you, I guess, qualify
Yeah.
for another
Okay.
tournament.
So there are people that live and breathe this stuff. Like they're super into it.
Oh, yeah. And I thought it was going to be a bunch of retirees
Yeah.
and boomers. It wasn't. There was quite a few 30s and 40s.
Okay.
And a lot more women than I expected. So
Good.
anyway, I'm talking to this one younger guy who's probably in his early 30s. Screamed military. I mean, the arm tats, the high and tight, and
The obvious PTSD.
right.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
He and I started talking to him because it wasn't my turn and it wasn't his turn. I was like, so what do you do? He's like, oh, I just came back from overseas. And I said, oh, really? You deployed? You served? He's like, no, I was on contract. I was like, oh, really? Where'd you go to? And I thought he was gonna be one of these guys that can't talk about it. Totally open.
It's like Yemen.
Ukraine.
Whoa.
This guy had been in Ukraine for weeks. I go, oh, wow. So like a PMC sort of thing, an American,
Was PMC?
excuse me, private military
Oh,
contract.
like a mercenary.
Like a mercenary group. He's like, no, I signed up for the Ukrainian Special Forces. Because the way this happened was I
What
said, hey,
in the world?
because, and man, I hope we don't get any hate from this. I noticed, and I'm not great. I just said I got 31 out of 50. So I was in the back end of those percentiles. I didn't crush it. He wasn't great either. So it was just like a military guy, can't shoot. And he goes,
Drone operator.
we're getting there.
Okay.
He goes, yeah, I don't want to pick up any bad habits. And then this leads to the question of, well, what bad habits for what? I work with Ukrainian Special Forces. I go, how do you link up with the Ukrainian Special Forces? And he says, literally, you go online and you send in an application. And he said to me a few days later, he gets an email back. You've been accepted.
What was he built like?
A Brit house.
Like a football player?
He was-
a fullback?
was
Or are we
prob-
talking a lineman?
I mean, he had muscles on muscles,
Okay, so he's
32-inch waist.
he's fit.
Oh, he's unbelievably fit.
Okay. Because that could mean a lot of different things. He could be William Refrigerator Perry, or he could be,
He wasn't built like Will Ferrell or anything like that. He was just jacked.
Okay.
Like I said, he was just screaming military. So he goes, I don't want to build up any bad habits. Bop, bop, bop. I get accepted into the Ukrainian Special Forces.
Seems like a low bar if just an email suffices.
I don't know if his talent. He was like a Marine for many years. He said so. I assume he's like, I'm a rifleman. That's what I do. I shoot with a rifle. Pistol isn't. We don't really train with that. So I go, what's it like? He's like, you fly over to somewhere in Europe, then you take a plane to somewhere else. Then you take a train. He said he basically got, I think, 2 weeks of unit tactics with his group. A lot of them were
front lines.
A lot of them were former military. Then they go, okay, you ready to go to the front line? Choose your weapon. It was like John Wick opening the vault. And he goes, yeah. So I picked,
Flamethrower.
close. He goes, I picked a rifle and a grenade launcher. And then
He's talking about Call of Duty. You got a primary and a secondary.
he might have mixed the two up. And
Yeah.
so, and he sees my jaws on the floor and he goes, dude, there are no rules over there.
Why is this guy doing this?
Money.
Just a thrill kill? Or money?
I
You
just
get
think-
paid to do it?
Oh yeah, bigly.
We're paying for it, I assume.
Well,
With our tax
it's
dollars.
it's the indirect.
Well,
we
it's gotta
pay
get
Ukraine.
washed.
They wash it through NGOs and the UN and God knows what else. He says there are no rules over there. And he was with his dad, which is really cool. There was a couple of fathers
He
and
went
sons.
to Ukraine with his dad?
No.
Oh.
He went to the shooting comp.
Father-son bound?
He went to the
bonding?
shooting comp with his dad.
Okay.
And I start talking about like the no rules things. Like, yeah, you're with your unit, and they're like, intel. The shooting suggests there's Russians over there, so go over there.
Just go over there and
start
shoot 'em?
shooting. There is no planning, nothing.
This is terrifying.
And so his unit was the support for the tier 1 guys.
Okay.
So he would do whatever he does. And I go, after all this, so you're going to go back? And he looks around, see if his dad is within earshot. And he goes, yeah, I'm thinking about it. He wants to go back. And I go, so like, what's stopping you from considering? He goes, you know all the drone videos you've seen? I go, yeah. He goes, we're beyond the point where you can jam these things, because it was drone, signal jammer, then a signal jammer for the signal jammer.
Now I hear there's a wire.
There is a
to the
wire.
drone.
He goes,
You can't
with
jam
these
that.
things wired, they're unstoppable. You have to shoot them out of the air. He goes, you basically, like, it's more dangerous than it ever was before. So that's the one reason I might not go back. That's it, because the drones are on a wire. Other than that, this kid wants to go to Ukraine. He just wants to fight. He's just a...
I guess better there than here. Like,
Well, I wish he was here.
well, I wish
don't
he
wanna
was
go to
here, but
Ukraine.
if he's got like a adrenaline addiction, like do it over there. Don't,
I don't
like
know what the-
drive really fast in my neighborhood or
Yeah,
something.
I don't know. I don't know what he thinks he's
How
fighting.
many people are doing this? Does our State
He
Department
said
know?
they were mostly Americans.
Does our State Department know that this is happening?
I assume it's sanctioned.
What's the visa process for this? Do you have to sneak into Ukraine?
It's like probably going like if you're an American to the French Foreign Legion, or a lot of Americans going to IDF. It's perfectly allowed. You're just fighting for another country, and as long as they're an ally,
Yeah.
and it's not against the law,
You
you can
sure
do it.
he was on Ukraine side here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
well that's what he said. So anyway, I think he wants to go back, but the drones are stopping.
But then you said he wasn't very good.
he wasn't good at the pistol.
Okay. Do these people have like high-end race guns or just regular carry concealed guns?
So it breaks up by. This is something I learned, which is a lot of fun. There are classes, but within my pod, there were, let's say, 15 people, and this was really cool. I was shooting a stock Glock with an optic on top of it. If you're shooting that, you only get, on average, 10 rounds per mag. Then you have to reload. If, however, you were shooting a pistol without an optic on it, you got 15 rounds, because to even out the challenge.
you just
So it's
mag
like,
dump
it's really cool, because you have to think like, what tactic am I going to use? Am I going to want to do iron sights with 15 rounds, or a red dot with 10 rounds? So it's just sort of like, it's kind of cool. And they test you on everything, moving, turning around, sort of making decisions about, am I going to shoot that one over there
Is there a
first?
safety briefing? I mean, they don't know you from Adam. You're going to be turning and spinning around with a loaded pistol? I mean, you're not a safe guy in general.
No, I'm not. I would say there was a safety briefing. With that said,
Don't shoot anybody.
they suss you out pretty quick. Like,
Okay.
you can always tell who's a new shooter.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and this is what I did.
proved
I
yourself.
went in there with zero pretensions about,
Yeah.
oh, I shoot all the time, and so therefore
Ukrainian
you don't-
Special Forces.
Right, you don't tell
Don't
me
worry
anything.
about
I
it.
went in there very honestly. This is my first competition. Don't know what to expect. And the guy was like, "We'll take care of you."
Cool.
Yeah, and they just and then,
I like that
and then one of the
camaraderie.
ladies
it's
that was
intimidating to get into that type of culture.
a little
gun
bit, yeah.
culture.
I would say here's the best part is it really is older guys who are retired, and they, after the match, will go, "Hey man, great job. We shoot a competition also on Tuesdays at 3:00." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm working.
Yeah.
I can't leave my job to do that." But this happens all the time.
That's
so
cool.
I would recommend. I don't care as long as you're comfortable around guns. Don't worry about your time. I didn't worry about my time.
Yeah.
Or all I worried about was getting shots on target. So much fun.
Not shooting yourself.
And
or
not shooting
anyone
myself
else.
or anyone else. Yeah.
Right.
Safety first, and then worry about getting shots on
Yeah.
target. It was so much fun. I want to do it again, but it's so far
Would
from
you
my
recommend it for a guy like me?
100%.
Really?
And they have different things. So you could do it with a pistol. You could do it with a rifle. Sometimes they do flamethrower, grenade launcher. It's a big
launcher.
one.
Very popular.
I would say if you want to do it, don't be intimidated. Everyone there is super chill, and no matter what your level of experience is, I would say go.
Cool.
Yeah,
Shooting competition.
yeah. And it was like
Ukraine Special Forces.
Here's the best part: it was $15.
That's
No.
unbelievable. You provide your own ammo, but yeah.
And that's another
They
great.
have any vendors? They have any hot dogs?
They did. They had like a little
hot dogs?
They had hot dogs. They had like a little booth there where you could buy food and stuff.
Yeah. How long was it? Like the competition?
So the actual shooting, excuse me, was probably 3.5 hours total.
Okay.
Here's the best part.
Decent commitment.
So I'm going shooting tomorrow. I'll probably burn through 200 rounds. This whole competition where I got really good experience and what I would call training,
Under pressure.
I would say 100 rounds.
Really?
But that experience to me is more valuable,
More valuable than 200
burning
of slow
through
fire,
250 rounds
punching
at
paper,
the range. Right.
hitting bullseyes.
Making you think about different things.
Just the
such
stress of it.
such a valuable use of my ammo.
Fumble anything where you're like, how do I reload? Oh.
Interesting you say that.
I'm all thumbs.
This is the way I am. I didn't buy any special gear for any of this. I didn't buy a special gun belt.
I didn't even think about that.
I didn't buy a
You got to
special-
have a holster and stuff.
I didn't buy I have holsters.
Do they
but-
make you draw as part of the...
So part of it is, and this is sort of getting to the details, but you have to draw from concealed. And so a lot of these guys, what they'll do is they'll have an exterior holster and then put this
cover
like
garment?
a cover garment on top of it.
flannel over it.
I didn't have that. They offered me one. I politely declined because I kind of wanted to draw from
This is
concealed.
not your style.
They didn't let me draw from appendix,
Yeah.
which was kind of a bummer because that's how I carry. So I just drew from my strong side.
Yeah.
And I didn't have mag holders on my belt, so I had to keep my mags in my pocket. So I was fighting through my pocket a little bit. But again, I didn't care about my time or any of that because it's my first time out. I might buy a couple of mag holders for the next time.
Yeah.
Whatever gear you got, just go. Do not worry about it. Figure out what you want.
I've
and
got a
then you'll buy that.
vintage double-barreled shotgun and a flamethrower,
You could do that.
and I can go.
There's a competition for that.
Good.
Got to go to Ukraine.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
I would
good. Hey,
recommend it.
that's high-quality stuff.
That is high quality stuff.
folks. Where are we? What are we on?
Shooting competition. We're gonna get to China-Taiwan relations in a little bit. We got a lot on that.
Let me just step back for a second. At the midpoint of this, I'm going to say this is not going well.
You don't think so?
I don't think this is going well.
What don't you like about it?
I just don't think we're on.
You,
I think we're out of material.
you want my honest
I
assessment?
think the well is dry.
You think this is like a 25-year marriage? We got nothing left to talk about?
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
probably right.
Just soup.
Do we just
We just
go
talk
back
about
to where we
soup.
started? First episode, soups and sandwiches.
Yeah, soups and sandwiches. But go back to our roots.
Go back. That's what
I
we
had
know
a
best.
You know what I had this week? Speaking of soups, goose soup.
Actual goose?
Actual goose.
Where do
If they had not told me it was goose soup, I would have said this is beef.
Do you remember when we ate those delicious goose breasts?
Yes. It was unbelievable. That tasted like
Do you
steak.
remember how he prepared it?
Yeah, low and slow, baby.
Low
It was
and
like
slow.
200 degrees
200
for like
degrees for
12 hours.
just salt and pepper.
That was
There
unbelievable.
were guys
That tastes
there
better
who
than
had
a
been
lot of beef.
hunting and cooking goose for decades. They said that was the best goose they've ever had.
This is
in
the
their
best
life.
goose I've ever had.
It was
I
good.
haven't been hunting for decades, but a decade and goose is disgusting. Unless you do it that way or soup.
How'd they make the soup?
Goose soup.
How'd they make the
In a
soup?
pressure cooker.
Oh, that'll break it down nice.
Yeah, broke it down, cooked the goose separate,
Mm-hmm.
pressure cooked it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically like mimicking a low and slow process of 12 hours, but it's like 45 minutes because it's under pressure, right? Changes it. I don't understand space and time, but somehow it works. Yeah. And then made a traditional like beef broth. I don't think there was red wine in it. I think it was a beef broth with like mushrooms, which were very good, onions, carrots, and potatoes, and just some seasoning. And then shredded the goose meat.
You had yourself a stew on.
Put it in there, baby. You got a stew going. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I would have not told people it was goose soup.
Do you think
And
goose
I would have just said it was beef, and everyone would love it.
Wow.
Anyway, that's soups and sandwiches. Yeah, you got Big Beautiful Bill.
So we live
This is
in
an omnibus?
this. Well, no,
Or
this
a
is,
budget
this is a
reconciliation.
reconciliation bill. That's all the rage. Have you heard about this thing?
Talking bird bath?
I just
Are
learned.
we about to talk bird bath?
We're not going to talk bird bath.
Good.
We can do that next week. Have you heard about this Big Beautiful Bill?
Not much.
You haven't heard much?
No. But I stick my head in the sand.
Right. Best for everybody. Big Beautiful Bill. I think we started off a little slow today.
Well,
It started off
better
slow.
than talk about architecture. So nothing could be more
I
boring.
loved that episode. I had a lot of fun.
It was interesting.
I had
Kinda-
fun.
All right, go on with your Big Beautiful Bill. And then we're going to talk about the Bauhaus movement.
I know nothing about that, so leaning
That's
on you for that.
architecture.
So, Big Beautiful Bill. What does thinking about the Big Beautiful Bill evoke for you? What comes to your mind?
Massive infrastructure package.
Massive infrastructure.
That's what I
package.
think. A
That's what you-
big, beautiful bill.
So you think infrastructure
Or an omnibus.
Or an omnibus.
Not a
you
budget
think-
reconciliation.
You think legislative concerns.
Yeah,
Right.
I sure do.
Here's what comes to mind when I think Big Beautiful Bill. It's what your dad says to the waitress when he asks for the check when the meal is over, expecting a laugh. She does laugh, but because she works on tips.
You got jokes.
I got jokes.
This is fantastic.
When I think Big Beautiful Bill, I think of the nickname for a Buffalo Bills superfan. Guy in the stands, he's got a cape, giant helmet with horns,
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, this is great.
He's throwing cheese to the crowd. When I think Big Beautiful Bill, I think of a 1980s wrestler with a horseshoe mustache, is bald, doesn't have any defined muscle, and his character is a ladies' man.
This is so surprising and such a welcome change.
When I think Big Beautiful Bill, I think of what of what President Trump says when describing a toucan.
What is this? I am so glad you didn't prepare this for me.
When I think Big Beautiful Bill, I think a 7-foot-tall, cross-eyed enforcer in prison. And lastly, when I think Big Beautiful Bill, I think of the nickname for mobster William Billy Caravino. He was as cruel as he was handsome. That's it. That's what I think of when I think Big
What
Beautiful
just
Bill.
happened? Oh my goodness. Well, color me surprised.
Surprised.
Wow.
Back to soups and sandwiches.
You just wrote up. That's good material.
Is that good?
Did you write that?
I did write that.
Did ChatGPT write that?
Tiffany, ChatGPT,
She's
and no
left.
AI ever created that. That was out of me.
I don't think
I am
AI
anti-AI
could
on
have
material.
created
I hate
that.
Yeah, that is good stuff.
Is that good stuff?
I am very impressed, Phil. You put a lot of work.
Wait a minute. Eli's giving me a boo.
He give you a boo?
Oh, how'd that get up there?
How'd that get up there?
How dare he?
That must be a glitch in the system.
Is that a glitch in the Matrix? Can we fire Eli? We can't fire him because he doesn't get paid for this.
Right, right.
He's a good kid.
He's a good kid. He's got a bright future.
Should we have him introduce himself or just move on?
Nope. Move on.
Anyway,
I can't believe you wrote jokes. I'm so proud of you, buddy.
that's what I think of when I think Big Beautiful Bill.
I don't know what my favorite one is. Maybe the toucan.
I thought
Like-
you'd like that.
Like, because I could picture Trump talking. He's like, you know, he goes to like,
National Zoo Day. and
or
they
he
get-
goes to like Honduras.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, I saw a toucan. You know, it's like when he was in, where was he? Saudi Arabia. And he's like, look at those camels. I can't do a Trump impression. But I
Two
can
humps,
kinda,
one hump.
I can kind of get the rhythm. And he's just like, those were great camels. We haven't seen camels like that in a long time. It's like, yeah. You know what a one-humped camel is called? This is not a joke. It sounds like it sounds.
You're setting me up. You're
I'm
setting
not
me up.
gonna.
All right, go ahead.
The punchline is not your mom. Don't worry. It's a dromedary,
So is that
or maybe it's a two-humped. It's like a cousin of a camel. We all, if it looks ugly and it's got humps on the back and it's in the sand, we think camel.
Yeah.
But there's like two species: camels and dromedaries. Now this is a thread we should pull and unravel the whole thing. But I don't know.
to the bottom.
I don't know if we want to get into it.
I don't think so.
But dromedaries, that's a thing.
Are there any other
If you
things
cut their humps open, is it filled with
with water? I think it's probably like Gatorade.
I had a friend who ate some camel meat in Iraq. He said it was amazing.
Really?
It was like after he was not a tip of the spear guy. He was a National Guardsman. So he went over there and there was like a Chili's in Baghdad
on the base.
or like on the base, like in the American
There
zone.
wasn't a Chili's like in the war zone operating.
No, not in 03. Those had long been since outlawed by Saddam's Ba'athist party. But yeah, he was like in an Iraqi Chili's, and it was like rib night, and the ribs are massive. And he's like, "What the heck kind of animal is this?" It was camel.
Wow.
He said it was delicious.
Did we get camel here?
I think so. I think there's an exotic meat. I've eaten some really exotic meats. I went back in my previous life when I was in the hook and bullet crowd. We used to have like exotic meat dinners at like different events. And this one time there was like this meat, and I didn't recognize. I couldn't even pronounce the thing. And this guy, major donor guy, is like, "Hey, you should try that meat. It's endangered." I was like, "Whoa! Why are we eating endangered meat?
was
Is
it?
that legal?" He's like, "No, this is farm raised, but in the wild, that's endangered." It was like an oryx or something.
You know what that reminds me of?
Something
There's
weird. Tasted great.
It's kind of hilarious Matthew Broderick movie. It's not hilarious because of Broderick. It's hilarious because Marlon Brando was in it.
Matthew Broderick again.
He was married.
Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller.
Okay, yeah. Right.
I forget the title of this movie. Eli, you got to look this up.
Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, it's even better. No, it's Matthew Broderick and
Inspector Gadget.
Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando is sort of it's a comedy, and he's playing off of his character in Godfather.
Okay.
And he plays this ludicrous like mobster. He's both super serious, but also you're not to take him seriously.
Marlon Brando, actually.
I could be mixing. Is this it here? What's it called?
The Freshman?
Is that it? Can you
The Freshman.
zoom in on that for me? Yeah, I think this is it. And I think he gets a part-time, or he wants to marry this mob boss's daughter. I think it's sort of like a fish out of water sort. That's it. You see how Brando's pinching his cheeks? He's that kind of like over the top, Italian mobster. A big plot point of the movie, if I remember correctly, is that Brando's business, or one of the side businesses, is trafficking in exotic animals.
Yeah.
And then it's just like this journey across town with Broderick and these and this endangered Komodo dragon that they're going to eat. And he kind of like falls in love with it and tries to save the Komodo dragon.
So it's a buddy comedy with an animal. How did you leave that out?
I don't know, but
You
we
see what we did there, folks?
came all the way back.
All the way back around.
It's worth a watch. It's really good. Brando is great.
Brando.
What are we at here on time?
I think we're out.
Is it? Wow. We've been 57.
57 minutes?
Oh, boy. You know what? I don't think we're going to get the China-Taiwan
I
relations
don't think
today.
so. I mean, folks,
a
you're
lot.
going to have to wait another
lot.
week. We cracked it.
We did crack it.
I had a card.
Yeah.
I don't know, Philly. I'm not sure about this. Not this episode. I mean this world that we live in. This world system.
What's getting you down?
Well, I tell you, it turns out that the entire system is actually run by Satan. And so guys like you and me are not supposed to succeed in it.
Yeah.
This whole world system is actually run by Satan.
You want to know something crazy?
And the mask is slipping.
You wanna know
And I
something
think we're starting to see it.
All right. I think you're right. Ready for this?
Yeah.
This came out when we elected a new pope. So he took a name, Pope Leo the 14th.
Yeah.
One of the things, we're always looking for little signals about what kind of pope he's going to be, a conservative pope, a liberal pope. I think as the story goes that Pope Leo the 13th, and I could have this way wrong, one of the popes apparently had a vision of a conversation between Jesus and the devil. And Satan said, I'm going to corrupt the entire world. And he says, I'll do it in 100 years. I think we're coming up on that 100-year mark.
Weird.
How about that?
You know what I thought would have been cool is that rather than Pope Leo the 14th, he just tweaked it a little and was Pope Leon.
Pope Leon?
Just Leon. Like, what? How
Well,
do they
the
set
church-
those names? It's like Pius and John and like,
A lot of them are
like
historical.
Leo was not an apostle or a disciple. Where did Leo come from? Why is that a name?
A lot of
that
times
you
they'll,
take?
well, this is the point I'm making. A lot of times they'll pull names from,
Francis, Benedict.
they'll
Those are
pull
nice
names from previous popes, and it's how you kind of read the tea leaves of what kind of pope.
So
we
you're
really should
sort
be-
of showing
Right.
what you're about.
right.
I'm a
You're sort of showing
Francis.
your hand without saying
Yeah.
what I'm going to be.
I wonder what a Pope Leon would be all about.
We cannot get into that.
I really want to. Pope Leon.
That's the show.